everyone, welcome back to Witchinary. If you have yet to subscribe to this channel, then please do so because I'm trying to get you in the Yuletide spirit all month long. And today I wanted to share with you my creations using the Clearly Besotted Little Llama stamp set. I absolutely fell in love with this stamp set when I first saw it, and I'm super happy I finally have a chance to play with it. So to start off, I'm going to take out some iguana colored long envelopes from Paper Presentation. Ever since my Halloween playlist and that one long card, I have fallen in deep love with long cards, and I will be making a ton of them for my friends this holiday season because they've never received them from me. So please stay tuned for all of those, and if you're bored already, I'm sorry. It is what it is. I'm going to take a piece of Neenah Solar White cardstock and some Mint Simon Says Stamp cardstock, and I'm going to use those for my card bases. I'm going to fold them horizontally, and since I'm really bad at measuring, I'm just going to use my envelopes as a reference to cut my cardstock. The envelopes themselves are 4 by 1/8 inches by 9.5 inches big, so my card bases will be slightly smaller than that. My card panels themselves are made with some Strathmore watercolor paper because we're going to be doing quite a bit of ink blending and splatter today, so I needed something that was going to be a little bit absorbent. Lately, I've been in deep love with some blush. My color scheme this year for my Christmas gifts and whatnot includes blush. As you guys can tell from my Hero Arts video, it's just the thing, it's a phase I'm going through. So I really wanted to give my first card a blush border. So to do so, I started inking some spun sugar on the edges of my Solar White cardstock, just directly on there. And once I was satisfied with the saturation and the color around the border, I set it aside and I began stamping down those adorable llamas on scrap paper. I'm going to use some Memento Tuxedo black ink to stamp down all of these llamas, and guys, I'm really happy I'm using this stamp set, but I have to admit, I think that the world is going through a llama craze right now. I see them everywhere for Christmas and the holidays, and I don't know, I might have to use them as my point of inspiration next year or something, like a very llama Christmas. Merry Llamas Day. I don't know, there's a joke there somewhere, but I don't know where. So one cool thing that has happened in the week and a half that I've had a little hiatus, my editing software now allows me to show time lapses, so I can finally actually show you guys how I color the images for everything. So I am using some Prismacolor pencils, and I took my sweet time coloring these llamas to make them look just right. I know this takes forever, but I've been really missing my Prismacolor pencils a whole lot. So I'm really happy I just got to sit down at my craft table and color with them for a good while. Also, please forgive the lighting changes and how crazy it looks. I was filming at sundown, and this should probably give you an indication of how long I was actually at my desk because this is a time lapse. Anyway, I wanted to start off this series with these cards because one of them was requested by one of my college friends, Zeddy, who was in the same criminal justice program that I was. She has a friend who is going through a rough patch, and we're all human. We know how rough life can get and how unfair it can be sometimes. So Zeddy, being the amazing person she is, wanted to find out if I had some extra time on my hands to make her friend a card that was extra special for the holidays. Zeddy has been a recipient of my cards for almost a year, and she likes how unexpected it is to just receive something like Happy Mail in the mail and how bright it makes your day. So she wanted to give her friend a similar experience, hence why she asked me to make her a card for her friend. And of course I said yes. I was like, girl, you know I got you. So I came up over here and I took out the stamp set and decided to make this the first card of my series. I don't believe anyone deserves to feel down during this time of year, so I pray that this card brings her joy. And mystery friend, if you are watching this or if you get a chance to watch this, I really hope you enjoyed this card. Once I was done coloring and fuzzy cutting those images, I wanted to create those splatter backgrounds that I've been trying to perfect on this channel. I cut out a piece of paper and I used it to mask the bottom of my panel, and I'm just going to do some ink blending. For my first panel, I'm going to take some Distress Oxide ink in the color Stormy Sky, and then I'm going to just ink it. I'm just going to ink blend upwards from my mask panel. I'm also going to use some Blueprint Sketch, some Chipped Sapphire, and some Wilted Violet to get a very saturated ombre background. I wanted to give the feeling of a night without actually creating a galaxy. And I also wanted to create the illusion of a very stormy, snowy scene without going a little too overboard. So that was my rationale with, you know, just doing this little ombre thing. Once I was done ink blending everything, I sprinkled my card panel with some clean water and I dabbed off the excess with a cotton ball. I also sprinkled the panel with some fine tech ink as well as some snow cap alcohol ink, and I will show you this process on my following panel. I don't know why I went so quickly for my first one, but I wanted to just kind of showcase kind of what I'm going for in terms of a snowy scene. But yeah, we're definitely gonna slow it down a little bit so you guys can kind of tell how we get there. Once I remove the masking, you can see those hills and it's super pretty and I love the way it looks. For the second panel, I repeated some of the exact same masking I did for the bottom. I began ink blending with some Twisted Citron, and then I moved down the panel using some Mowed Lawn, and then I masked where the panel's actually masked. I used some Peacock Feather and some Chipped Sapphire just to give a nice illusion of depth, which I knew would kind of just make this green look like the Northern Lights or look like an alien abduction. There's just kind of no way to tell, so we're just gonna go with it. I personally believe aliens could totally abduct sheep. Why not? But yeah, anyway, once we were done with that, here we go. We're gonna sprinkle some clean water onto the panel and then dab off the excess with a cotton ball. I'm just kind of twisting that cotton ball around so that way I don't drag the color on too much. Then I'm going to take my Fine Tech ink in the color, what is this color actually? In the color Sterling Silver. And even if you guys don't have this, if you have the Hero Arts Iridescent ink, it works just as well. So I'm going to sprinkle that on top, and then over that I am going to sprinkle on some Snow Cap alcohol ink and just sprinkle it on top. I don't want to dab any of this away because I do want it to dry onto my panel to give it a nice saturation where you can see the shimmer and the layers, and it all looks really, really, really lovely. Once those are dry, I'm going to adhere them down to my card bases using some Scotch foam tape, and I'm going to start setting the scene. I created similar backgrounds because I wanted to play with the sentiments, and I figured whichever card my friend didn't choose, I can then send to my dad, who used to take me to go see camels and llamas for Three Kings Day in Puerto Rico when I was little. Three Kings Day is a huge event in the Caribbean, and I'm kind of sad that Americans don't celebrate it the same way. It's spectacular to actually see in Puerto Rico. I don't know if they do it the way they did when I was a kid, but when I was a kid, it was like a whole bit that my parents used to do. It was so much more fun than actual Christmas morning. I kid you not. Once my llamas are in place, either using foam squares or tape adhesive, I am going to start, going through my sentiments. I took out a piece of dull pink paper and some green apple, they're not paper, they're cardstock. So some dull pink cardstock and green apple cardstock from Simon Says Stamp, and I cut out some strips for my sentiments. I'm gonna heat emboss those sentiments with some Princess Gold embossing powder from Ranger, just because it gives it a much softer sort of gold. And please forgive me, I hit my camera for a moment, so it shook a bit, but whatever. Anyway, I'm gonna then, after I'm done doing all of this, I'm gonna raise up my sentiments with some foam squares, and I decided to raise up my green sentiment on my green card and my pink sentiment on my blue card, just to play around with the appeal of the card. Now it's time to decorate the inside of my cards. I use Memento Tuxedo Black ink to stamp down the sentiment on both of my cards, as well as a few small embellishment stamps that came in this little stamp set. I also had a couple of leftover llamas that I really wanted to add to the interior of these cards, just because I worked really, really hard on those little images and I just didn't have the heart to throw them away or use them on another card, because I didn't feel like I had enough for another card, and I was very tired after making these cards. So I just decided, you know what, we're gonna go for it. We're gonna adhere these little beings to the inside of these cards, and it's gonna be a whole lot of fun. So that's what we're gonna do. Once those were adhered inside using my thermal web tape runner, that would really wrap up this card. Well guys, thank you so much for watching this card. This is day 1 of my card series. Stay tuned for day 2 and what else I create. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time. Take care.